All right, the Iranian ship was part of a naval exercise with India. Do you have a view on the attack itself?
Well, obviously, we've been calling for a de-escalation. We want to see this issue resolved. Australia has offered support to the United States to ensure that Iran cannot acquire a nuclear weapon. This is a regime that's breached the human rights of its citizens, it's murdered its people, it's exported terrorism to the region, and unfortunately, it was involved in an anti-Semitic attack on Australian soil. So I don't think any Australians have sympathy for the Iranian regime.
Do you support torpedoing that ship, which was on a naval exercise with India?
Well, that's a matter for the United States.
But our submariners are on it.
But that was their offensive operation, and as the Prime Minister pointed out, Australian Defence Force personnel were not involved in any offensive capacity in that operation, and at all times abide by Australian law and Australian Defence Force.
I understand, but I've got to say, how can we not say we're supporting the action if we're on the sub? Well, even if we're just watching on the sub.
Our support is for ensuring that Iran cannot acquire a nuclear weapon and that they reduce their capacity to acquire that. And that's the basis upon which we supported the United States' actions.
Will there be any consideration to taking Australians off these subs, or are you happy to just go as you're currently going?
Well, we'll continue with normal arrangements because there's protocols that are put in place to ensure that Australians aren't involved in any offensive activities and that they abide by Australian laws at all time. And they're good training opportunities for Australians because we're increasingly working out how to operate nuclear-propelled submarines as we acquire that AUKUS capability.
Donald Trump's had a bit to say overnight. You might have seen it. Let's have a look anyway. Today, Iran will be hit very hard under serious consideration for complete destruction and certain death because of Iran's bad behaviour. Areas and groups of people that were not considered for targeting up until this moment in time. So what do you make of that? I mean, you're saying you're about de-escalation, but you're also about disarming Iran. Are you happy with the way the US is conducting this conflict so far, which they're hesitant to call a war, but clearly it looks like a war?
Yeah, I mean, our support is conditional upon removing the nuclear threat. That's the basis upon which we supported the United States action, and that's consistent with the approach that we've taken for many, many months now since this conflict broke out. But there are 115,000 Australians that live and work within that region. Iran has been attacking nations that aren't involved in this conflict. So that's why we want to see a de-escalation to ensure the safety of Australians who live and work and get their livelihoods from the work that they do within the region.
How does the de-escalation happen in your view?
Well, we've got to make sure that there's a dialogue that goes on eventually. How quickly we get to that is yet to be seen. The President's indicated that he'd like to see the conflict ended within the next month. We'll wait and see what happens with that. But we want to see a de-escalation as quickly as possible.
He wants to say in the new leader. Do you think that's fair enough?
That's a matter for the Iranian people. Australia is a democratic nation and internationally we espouse democratic values.
Donald Trump doesn't. He just wants to be able to choose the leader.
Well,
so that's a bit of a difference in positions, it seems, from what you're saying.
The Australian view is that that's a matter for the Iranian people.
Do you think the US has a game plan here?
Obviously, they've gone into the conflict with a game plan, and that was to stop Iran acquiring a nuclear weapon. We know that. There have been conditions that have been placed on Iran by the International Atomic Energy Agency, and that in the past they've breached those conditions. And that's why the United States launched those actions. They had, they say, intelligence that meant that they were enriching uranium to a weapons-grade level, and that's the basis upon which they launched this attack.
We had this issue come up in question time during the week of mosque funding, and a grant was pulled from a Victorian mosque by Minister Anna Lee after they mourned the death of the Ayatollah. Do you know why that money was granted in the first place and why it was taken off them?
Well, there are grants that are available for organisations to apply for, and this organisation has applied.
Do you know what program that was? Or
it's a multicultural grants program. So it's aimed at promoting multiculturalism within Australia, and there are guidelines that organisations must meet to secure that funding. Now, it's inappropriate for any person or organisation to mourn or promote the Ayatollah and the regime, given that they were promoting an anti-Semitic attack in Australia. And when we found out about them and this grant funding, it was immediately withdrawn.
Bit of speculation past couple of days that asylum could be granted to members of the Iranian women's soccer team out here if they want it. Is that something the government might consider?
Well, any sporting team or member of a sporting team gets no preferential treatment in terms of visas coming to Australia. They must meet all of the conditions for the visa, and that includes a security check and a health check. So there'll be no special circumstances granted to anyone that's competing in the Asian Women's Cup. The normal rules that apply to visa grants in Australia, including those important security checks, will apply.
Just finally, some weekend speculation the government may look to tax family trusts, which have been a tax minimisation vehicle for some time. That was a 2019 policy for Bill Shorten and that fateful election for Labor. Is that something you think the government could or should consider?
We didn't take that policy to the last election and our tax policies haven't changed. The only focus of our tax policies at the moment are reducing income tax for Australians. There's another one built into the system and we're looking forward to that being implemented later in the year.
At the moment. All right, thanks very much, Matt Thistlethwaite.
Thanks, Andrew.